What's going on, and welcome to the Solo Shot. My name is Tom Vecchio. I am not Jim Sonis. We are looking at today's MLB slate. Jim is going to be out for a few days, so I will be filling in for him today, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. Again, my name is Tom Vecchio. I'm one of the writers and analysts at numberFire.com. You might know me from the Daily ISO, the basketball podcast we do, or the Daily Deke, the hockey podcast we do. It's really just going to be business as usual, running through today's slates. We're going to go through the pitchers. We'll go through the stacks, three things to look at. I filled in for Jim back in 2019 a couple of times, and then for the last month of the season back in September of 2019. So really nothing's going to change too much. Again, this is the Solo Shot. This is one of the many shows on the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find that anywhere, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe. That is greatly appreciated. And you can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. And before we hop into things, listen up, soccer fans. This season, FanDuel and Captain Morgan are teaming up to give you a one-of-a-kind soccer contest. Introducing Captain Morgan Soccer Pick'em, a weekly fantasy contest that's entirely free to play. The contest is simple. All you have to do is make quick predictions for the Saturday games this soccer season, and you'll earn points for each correct pick and compete for your chance to win up to $3,000 in prizes every single week. So head over to FanDuel and enter the Captain Morgan Soccer Pick'em today. Must be 21 plus to participate. For more details, visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel Fantasy app today. Eligibility restrictions apply. And don't forget to make your game day more delicious and sub in the captain. All right, so let's get to this 15-game slate. It starts at 7:05. There's some slight weather issues in New York for the Yankees and the Red Sox. That game could have a delayed start or an in-game delay. And then there's a slight weather issue in Philadelphia for the Washington Nationals and the Phillies. And that's actually where we're going to be starting with pitching, because this is where we find the two most expensive pitchers on today's slate. Zach Wheeler is $11,500. He is more expensive than Max Scherzer, who is $11,200. We have two aces going head-to-head. Listen, we have a full 15-game slate. There are great pitchers up and down the board, where we're going to be focusing in on three of the top stars at the top: Wheeler, Scherzer, and then we'll get to Shohei Ohtani in a few minutes. Of course, this is not to say these are the only pitchers I like on tonight's slate. We'll get to a few more. And of course, we have Coors Field on the slate. And if we want to be paying for some of the hitters at Coors Field, we're going to need to find some savings at the pitching position. But let's start off with Wheeler, who again is the most expensive pitcher, $11,500, having an absolutely phenomenal year. He has gone 6 innings or more in 7 straight starts. He comes in allowing 3 earned runs or fewer in 6 of those 7 starts. He comes in with a 31.7% strikeout rate, a 5.5% walk rate, obviously is phenomenal, a 2.89 Sierra, that's a skill interactive ERA. Again, one of the things that I'll be focusing in on, it's not like we're going to be focusing in on batting average or ERA for the pitchers or the hitters. We're going to be focusing in on, the stuff that we actually want to be looking at when it comes to DFS. On top of that, he has a 2.75 xFIP this season. Very solid 47% ground ball rate, inducing a 52.5% medium contact rate and a low 6.1% barrel rate. Really, really solid stuff from Wheeler. He has been up at the top tier all season. And really the matchup for him is surprisingly strong going up against the Nationals, a team that I think a lot of people still view as like an elite offense or having, a dangerous offense. But when we actually look at their splits versus righties this year, it's not good. And it's actually a below average offense in all categories that we're looking at. So they have a 22.3% strikeout rate. That's 28th in the league. They don't strike out a ton. That's one thing I guess you could say that they're good at. They also don't walk a lot. So that's not really too much of a concern for Wheeler with their 7.3% walk rate. But their power numbers, or lacking of power numbers, are bad. And I think that this puts Wheeler in a fantastic spot. They come in with a team 136 ISO versus righties this year, which is 27th in the league, and 87 WRC plus, which is 25th. They only have a 29.8% fly ball rate. That is 29th in the league, and a 31.4% hard contact rate. That is 15th in the league. These are all categories that are in the bottom half of the league against righties. the Nationals offense is not good versus right-handed pitching. Of course, it's not to say that they don't have some power in that lineup against righties. We know they've some good lefty hitters. Soto, Schwarber can always bring the power, but overall, their offense is really not too dangerous. So I'm really liking Wheeler as just that super, super consistent option up at the top, $11,500. I think you should be looking at him in all formats today. Now, on the other side, it's not like we're shying away from rostering Max Scherzer, who also comes in with phenomenal numbers. Now, if we're looking at their FanDuel point per game production, we've actually seen Scherzer behind Wheeler, but Scherzer has some better numbers compared to Wheeler. Scherzer has a 36.5% strikeout rate compared to Wheeler, who's at 31.7. I mean, this is nothing new for Max Scherzer, dominating on the mound, putting up plenty of strikeouts on a nightly basis. He's there with a 5.4% walk rate, a 2.60 Sierra Skill Interactive ERA. He does have a 51.4% fly ball rate. That is up from 38 and 39% in the past 2 seasons, but he's still mostly inducing some medium contact with a 47.3 medium percent contact rate. Limiting the hard contact is, of course, always good to see. Now, some of the fly balls have led to more barrels, and his barrel rate is up to 10.1% this season, which is up from 8.4% last season and 6.3% barrel rate in 2019. We do see Scherzer giving up these, random like solo shots early in the game, and then he kind of bounces back and racks up plenty of strikeouts. So I, of course, like Scherzer plenty. I think that the matchup is just as good, if not better for him, because we actually look at the Phillies offense, and we're looking at them coming in with a 25.7% strikeout rate versus right-hand pitching, which is the 7th worst in the league. So Wheeler has been more consistent on a FanDuel point per game basis, but Scherzer has a better strikeout rate, and the strikeout matchup for the Phillies, for Scherzer, is actually better than it is for Wheeler against the Nationals. Again, the Nationals are at 22.3% strikeout rate, which is actually 28th in the league. They simply don't strike out a ton. And the Phillies are up there at 25.7%, which is the 7th worst in the league. So they are a strikeout-heavy team. It's not like we're dealing with too much of a salary difference between Scherzer and Wheeler. Wheeler's up at 11.5. Scherzer is 11.2. More on the Phillies offense, a 9.3% walk rate. They have an 88 WRC plus, which is 20th in the league, a 142 team ISO, which is 21st in the league, a 31.9% fly ball rate, which is 28th in the league, and they are sitting at 30.9% hard contact rate. So really, I think we're splitting hairs a little bit for both of these players. I think I'm siding a little bit with Wheeler, especially if we're looking at the chance that Scherzer is going to be more popular due to the fact that he's simply just a little bit cheaper and still holds a little more name recognition. The other pitching options on the slate, of course, all very good. Julio Urias is, I think, a fantastic pitcher. He's having a great season, but it's a negative park shift against him going to Atlanta, and of course, that offense is always, always dangerous. I think that this is the spot that we want to drop down and look at Ohtani at 9.5 today, coming in with a 3.87 xFIP, a 32.5% strikeout rate, obviously phenomenal. The 16.9% walk rate, that is bad. But he really does have a solid matchup going up against the Mariners. We'll get into that in a second. A 4% barrel rate from Ohtani this year is phenomenal. Very, very strong, 49.3% ground ball rate on top of a 57% medium contact rate. So Ohtani, I think, is really going to shape up as a solid pitcher that we're going to see very popular tonight because he's, again, just that much cheaper than Scherzer and Wheeler, and he's going to fit better into a lineup construction if you're looking to get hitters in the Coors Field game. Now, Ohtani's at home. He's going up against the Mariners. I don't think this is going to come as a shock to a lot of people, but the Mariners aren't great on offense this year. They weren't great last year. They're probably not going to be great for a little while. They come in with a 25.5% strikeout rate versus righties. That is the 10th worst in the league. They have an 87 WRC plus. That is 23rd in the league. They don't create a lot of fly balls, a 31.2% fly ball rate. That is 20th in the league. The Mariners are an offense that we've attacked throughout the beginning portion of the season. I assume that we'll be attacking them throughout the rest of the season just because they don't offer a ton of power. They don't offer a ton of danger. And putting Ohtani into your lineups is looking like a really, really solid option, especially when he's $2,000 less expensive than Zach Wheeler. Now, this, again, it's not to say I don't like Wheeler or Scherzer, but if you're really looking to load up on hitters tonight, Ohtani is a player that we're probably going to see very, very popular. So those are the three pitchers. Again, I think I'm going to be ranking them. I want to side with Wheeler for that consistency. Again, if he's going to be less popular than Scherzer, we also have to be considering that for tournaments. How chalky is a player going to be? Now, Scherzer, you want to side with him in your cash games? Absolutely, that's a fantastic choice. I don't think anyone's ever going to tell you not to roster Scherzer in your cash games. But Wheeler, $300 more expensive with the potential that he's going to be less popular. I think that's something we want to be looking at in tournaments tonight. And then, of course, Ohtani, I think, is a very, very strong option, given the matchup, given his salary, just given the overall context of the slate. Now, as we move on to the stacks, we have, of course, a loaded 15-game slate. There are options we want to be looking at across the board. I generally don't like to talk about Coors Field when they're on the slate. I think that's a bit of a given. I want to look at the Kansas City Royals tonight. They're going up against Matt Shoemaker, really not a strong pitcher. He comes in with a 5.06 xFIP. He's allowing 1.79 home runs per nine. He has a very low 14.7% strikeout rate, a 5.15 SIERA, and an 8.8% barrel rate. The Royals aren't considered a super strong offense. I think that this will put them in a good spot to go slightly overlooked. I also like the salaries on some of these players that we're looking at tonight. No one is super expensive. If we look at their roster overall, Mondesi is the most expensive player who is currently injured, and he's only $3,500. This would make Whit Merrifield at $33 their most expensive option. I think that this makes a really, really good stacking team because they can be fit into so many different types of lineups, just given their solid matchup going up against Matt Shoemaker, and of course their salaries if you're looking to get into some of those hitters from the Coors Field game into your lineups. We look at some of their hitters versus Matt Shoemaker in this split, of course, versus righties. Andrew Benintendi this season leads the team with a 141 WRC plus. He has a modest 143 ISO, but of course, he's been getting better as this season has been going on. Salvador Perez had 2 home runs last night. We know the power he brings with his 230 ISO against righties and a 128 WRC plus. You can, of course, be looking to Carlos Santana, a 195 ISO, a 120 WRC plus. Again, all these are in the split versus right-handed pitchers. Whit Merrifield only has a 78 WRC plus this season, not bringing a whole lot of power, off to a bit of a slower start, but a player that can get on base, a player that we know can rack up the steals, which are always so valuable in DFS. Also, Michael A. Taylor, a 100 WRC plus, not a whole lot of power with a 148 ISO, but of course you can be looking to him to round out a stack, and he's $2,400 tonight, a very, very affordable salary. And some of these players, Andrew Benintendi, $2,900. Salvador Perez, only $3,000. We're getting multiple players in a great matchup against Shoemaker who are all $3,000 or below. So really liking the Kansas City Royals tonight. I think we should be looking to them very confidently. And then I think we also can be looking to the Cleveland Indians tonight going up against Keegan Aiken of the Baltimore Orioles. This is a great hitter's park, this game in Baltimore. Aiken is a pitcher that doesn't have a whole lot of experience at the major league level, whether it's this year or last season. This year, he comes in with a 4.17 xFIP, a 21.9% strikeout rate, allowing 1.20 home runs per nine. He does have a 3.70 skill interactive ERA, which is solid. He has a 42.6% fly ball rate and actually a very low 23% hard contact rate. But if we look back to last year, since this sample size from this season obviously very small, last year he had a 40% fly ball rate and a 41% hard contact rate. And he had more strikeouts and more walks in 2020 as well. So small sample size, of course, we're going to have some numbers fluctuating up and down, but he's still giving up a 40% fly ball rate in both seasons. The hard contact rate, again, is lower this year than it was last year, up at 40% last year, which is, of course, bad. And I think we can be looking to the Indians as a solid stacking option tonight. Ahmed Rosario comes in with a 133 WRC plus and a 188 ISO in this split. Harold Ramirez is a 132 WRC plus, a 211 ISO. Cesar Hernandez has really been looking solid to power lately with a 233 ISO and and a 111 WRC plus. And then, of course, Jose Ramirez, he is the fourth player on this list with a 107 WRC plus and still a 152 ISO. And when J-Ram is the fourth player on this list when it comes to WRC plus, I think that we're going to be looking at a very solid stack. We're not worried about the Orioles starting pitching. I don't think we have to be worried about their bullpen if it gets to that point. And again, another team that is really affordable overall. J-Ram is their most expensive player at $3,900. But if you want to drop down, we're looking at some of the options on the Indians. Cesar Hernandez, $2,600. Harold Ramirez, $2,500. Ahmed Rosario, $2,400. You could roster multiple Indians and Royals hitters and still have the salary to pay up for Scherzer or Wheeler in your lineups. So we're really looking at two stacks that are in great spots. They have great matchups against the given pitchers, and they're very, very affordable tonight. And that's what we want if we're looking to pay up for some of the top pitchers. Now, a stack that we'll move on to that is not inexpensive. They're actually very, very expensive, is the Boston Red Sox. Now, again, this game has a little bit of a weather concern. This game is at Yankee Stadium. There's a little bit of a weather concern for New York. This is, I would say, it's slightly more of an issue than the Washington-Philly game. Of course, we'll have to wait on the final weather information. I personally use Kevin Roth on Twitter. He's been fantastic for a number of seasons when it comes to MLB weather, all things DFS weather. So certainly look there. Now, we have the Red Sox. They are on the road in Yankee Stadium. Of course, this is a great hitter's park. They're going up against Michael King, the young pitcher for the Yankees, coming with a 4.22 Sierra. He's got a low 20.4% strikeout rate. A 10.2% walk rate, of course, is not good. Small sample size from him this year, small sample size from him last year, et cetera, et cetera. But the power that the Red Sox bring in this split is absolutely undeniable. JD Martinez, a 177 WRC plus and a 277 ISO. Devers, a 157 WRC plus, a 370 ISO. Bogarts, 237 ISO, 151 WRC plus, and even Verdugo with a 213 ISO and a 143 WRC plus in this split going up against Michael King, a right-handed pitcher. The salaries, of course, on the Red Sox hitters are something that you're going to have to, break out a good portion of your overall salary to get to. JD Martinez is $4,000. Devers is $3,500. Bogarts is $33,000. We're getting multiple players above $3,000. Verdugo is one of the cheaper ones at $2,900. I think that this, it's not going to be a surprise if we see the Red Sox popular. We've seen their offense continue to put up big numbers all season, and this is a spot that they should be able to do it. A weak, inexperienced pitcher in a hitter's park. This is a spot where we could see plenty of runs from the Red Sox. So I'm certainly looking to them tonight. I love the matchups for the Royals and the Indians as well. So those are certainly three of my top stacks on tonight's slate. Now, as we move on to the three final things to look for on tonight's 15-game slate, I would say that one of them is Coors Field. Now, we know the upside that Coors Field can bring, but 6 of the last 8 home games for the Rockies have hit the under. 6 of 8 have hit the under. Now, we have Frankie Montas is pitching for the Athletics tonight at Coors Field. Now, he's a solid pitcher, and we know that the Rockies lineup can certainly strike out a ton. So the potential for this game to hit the under isn't out of the question again. John Gray pitching for the Rockies. He's, a decent pitcher. He's not absolutely terrible, but he certainly has his shining moments. The Athletics offense certainly struggled to begin the year. They got better. They're, kind of up and down a little bit. So I do like this game, of course, for the run scoring potential, but I think that I want to be underweight on the field compared to everyone else when it comes to my player exposure here, because I'm looking at the Colorado offense in some of these recent games, and they're simply not doing anything, combined with the fact that they're going up against Montas, who is a solid pitcher. So one of the things I'm looking for on tonight is certainly to limit my exposure to Coors Field. It's not going to be a full fade. I know the upside Coors Field still brings, and I want to be looking there for a few options in a limited capacity. Then one of the other pitchers I didn't touch on tonight A pitcher that's probably going to go vastly overlooked is Dallas Keuchel for the Chicago White Sox. He's only $6,700. He had his start pushed back the other day. We know what we're getting with Dallas Keuchel. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. He's mainly a ground ball pitcher. We're looking for him to hopefully go at least 6 innings, pick up the QS, pick up the win when it comes to his fantasy points on FanDuel. Obviously, those things are variable, not something we can naturally project. But he's $6,700. He's probably not going to be popular due to the fact that, of course, we know strikeouts are king when it comes to MLB DFS. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, but the matchup for him going up against the Detroit Tigers is, of course, fantastic. Right? So this is a player that could probably go 6 innings instead of his 2 or 3 strikeouts that we see him put up sometimes. Hopefully, the matchup allows him to push towards 5, maybe 6 strikeouts, get the QS points, pick up the win, because we're going to be hopefully relying on the White Sox offense. And of course, this $6,700 salary will allow you to pay up for any of the hitters, whether it be from the Red Sox or whether you want to do a full Coors Field game. And then tonight, one of the final things I want to end on is I always like to have a bit of a home run call tonight, and that's going to be Katel Marte from the Arizona Diamondbacks going up against Freddie Peralta, who this season we know is striking out plenty of people, but he's still allowing a 55.7% fly ball rate to lefties. Now, Katel Marte recently returned from the IL, has a very small sample size this year. Last year, of course, smaller sample size as well. We're looking at some mixed power numbers, but if we look all the way back to 2019, he had over a 200 ISO in the split going up against right-handed pitching. We know the power he can bring. Peralta is a solid pitcher. We know he can be inconsistent at times, but if he's giving up a 55.7% fly ball rate to lefties in a park in Milwaukee that is certainly conducive for some power and some home run upside, I will certainly be looking to Marte as a solid one-off. Not looking to stack the Diamondbacks tonight, but certainly looking to Marte for that home run upside. Again, I am Tom Vecchio. I'm filling in for Jim Sanas on the Solo Shot. I will be here on Monday. I will be here on Tuesday. I will be here for the Q&A later today, as well as on Monday and Tuesday. As always, you can find this podcast on the FanDuel Podcast Network. It is on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you may find your podcast. And you can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. And until Monday, good luck in your contests.